G'day guys, how you going? Hope you're all having a fantastic evening. Now if you're wondering why I'm dressed like I'm auditioning for a role in Star Wars, well it is very cold. As you could imagine, we're heading into winter here in Australia, so that's why I look like Little White Riding Hood. So I apologise for that, but yeah, that doesn't matter. What matters is what I produce in this video. So today it's going to be a new series for me. It's only going to be 3 parts in this series, so it's not going to be as long as the Around the World horror series. So that could be a good thing or bad thing, depending on whether or not you enjoyed my last series. But anyway, this is an idea that I am borrowing from a fellow YouTuber who goes by the channel name of Monster243. Awesome YouTuber. I will leave a link in the description below for you to go and subscribe to him if you haven't done so already. I say I borrow this idea because I saw it on his channel and I really like the idea of it, and I thought I would like to share with you guys my opinions on these films. So I'm only doing 3 parts, and these 3 parts are some very well known films. So the chances are the majority of you have already seen these films or heard about them, so hopefully you still get enough interest out of this. So basically what this is I saw this on Monster243's channel. The original versus a remake. So these original classic horror films being made into a remake and then comparing them both. So I'm not sure if that was Monster243's idea, but I'm borrowing this from him. Or you could say I'm stealing it, but borrowing sounds a lot better. So I give him credit for the idea, but I'm just going to be sharing my opinions on these films. So we're going to have 3 films, 3 very well-known films, and it's going to be original and remake. I'm going to talk about both of them, and then I'm going to pick a winner for me anyway. So the first film I'm going to talk about is a very controversial film, and this is I Spit on Your Grave. Now the 1978 original was directed by Miyazaki, and then we have the remake, the 2010 remake, directed by Stephen R. Munro. So the storyline is as follows. I'm sure you don't need me to go through it, but I'm going to do it anyway, because you've probably already seen it. Jennifer Hills is an attractive city woman who rents a backwoods cabin to begin writing her first novel. She is soon attacked by a group of local lowlifes and dragged screaming into a nightmare of violence. Left for dead, she devises a horrific plan for revenge. So it is a very basic story. This is a rape revenge film. This beautiful woman, she's very young and she's very ambitious, got a whole life ahead of her. She's writing this book in the cabins to get away from everything so she has some peace and quiet. But she doesn't exactly get peace and quiet. What happens is that a group of thugs absolutely humiliate and rape her brutally, and this goes on 3 times. So, you know, once is not enough for these guys, and they continue to humiliate and brutalize this young woman. Then she's left for dead, and she comes back up with this plan that she's going to get revenge on each and every one of these people in the most brutal way possible. So it's a very simple story, and it's pretty much, I think this is the first film of its kind. I could be wrong, I'm just guessing with that one, but it is a very controversial film, and it still is to this day. And you know, it's a 1978 film, and the content in this film would still be bad, you know, by today's standards. So then we have the remake, and it basically goes along the same storyline, but there are a few characters added in for this one, and there are a few sort of plot twists that didn't happen in the original, but it does stay true to the original storyline. So I don't have to go through this because there's no major sort of twists and turns in the story. It's just a modernized version of the original, which all remakes should be. You know, they stay true to the original, but they just add some of their own ideas. Now, back to the original, just to talk about this for a bit. Now, the rape scene in this film, there are 3 occasions where they rape her, and it lasts for about 20 minutes, and this rape scene is brutal. So if you're squeamish and you don't like this kind of stuff, then I would stay away from it, because for a 1978 film, you're probably thinking, well, it's not going to be that graphic, it's not going to be that, you know, hard to watch, because a lot of 1978 films are pretty mild by today's standards, but I can tell you right now that this is not a mild film, and it does not get any easier with time. For its time, I was very shocked by just how brutal this film was. The rape was just awful, and it's exactly what, you know, how rape should come across in a film. As awful, as horrifying, and just an absolutely dog act, you know. And it's just, it painted rape for what it is, and that's just a truly horrifying experience, and something that no one should have to go through ever. So we really do get a strong sense of sympathy for this woman, and when she wants to get revenge, we start, supporting her, even though that what she's about to do is ghastly and horrific. We still, we want to see her get revenge, because she's just been left for dead. She's been treated like an animal, and we don't want to see that sort of thing. So a lot of films will leave you wanting more. It leave you wanting revenge, wanting the person who'd been wronged to do something horrible to her attackers. And this film really does give you that opportunity. And this film is really probably the most feminist film you could find. So if you're a female, you will probably like this horror film, because she turns into the psycho, and what she does to these guys is horrific. And you wouldn't sort of condone what she does, but you get a strong sense of justice for the movie, that what she did was probably what they deserved. So it is a very controversial film. It says on the back, an extremely graphic and disturbing movie, a highly controversial film that many consider a classic, a thought-provoking movie to be absorbed and discussed. I Spit on Your Grave has been condemned by many as vile, depraved, and degenerate filmmaking. Others hailed it as misunderstood, superb cinema, and the ultimate feminist movie. And I would agree with that last statement. I don't think this is degenerate filmmaking. I just think it's very brave filmmaking. The revenge scenes aren't that brutal. I think they used all the brutality on the actual rape, and when it gets to the brutality, the revenge, it is over fairly quickly. And that's my only criticism of this film, is that it didn't really draw it out. It kind of had a very quick sort of finish. So yeah, but overall it is a very, very brutal film, and a very hard film to watch. Now here we've got, as I said, basically the same thing. The rape scene is a lot easier to watch, even though it is hard. It is a lot easier than the original, because it is twice as short as the original. So the rape scene in this isn't very extreme compared to the original, but it's still hard to watch. But where this film excels is in the brutality of the revenge. Now this is extremely brutal, very hard to watch, especially if you're a male, because there is a scene that involves some shears. And I won't tell you what happens, but you could probably guess. And some of the creativity and the kills in this film were really good, and I actually found myself, I enjoyed the revenge part, even though it was disgusting. For any horror fan, you would enjoy this sort of gore, because it is brutal, and it certainly deserves its R18 classification. So, it does run very similar as the original, as you would expect, but I felt that the rape scene wasn't as extreme as the original, but I thought the revenge in this film was a lot more extreme than the original. Now, for my negatives. The negative for this film, as I said, I thought it was hurried towards the end. I thought it was rushed a little bit, but that's not taking away from the film, because I thought it's a superb film, and it really did show you the brutality of what really happens. So that's the only real criticism I have of this movie, is that I thought it was a bit hurried towards the end, but overall the acting was okay. I've been told that the acting in this was crap, but I watched it, and it was good. I couldn't pick anything bad about it. The guy who plays the mentally handicapped guy, they say that he overdid it, but I thought, I didn't have any problem with the acting at all. So I'm not going to say that the acting was bad, because it didn't take anything away from the film with me. So I'm one of those people who does pay attention towards the acting, and this one passes. So the acting, it wasn't a big deal. Now the criticism I have of this film, I thought it was too stylized. They glorified the violence too much. Therefore, it takes the realism out of the film just a little bit. And that's my only criticism of it. At the end of the day, the original and this were very, very good films. But if I have one criticism of it, is that the violence was glorified, and it turned into a torture movie pretty much. It was drawn out, and the director it seemed that he found creative ways to kill off these thugs, and it just took a little bit of realism out of it for me. So I felt that the realism in this film was lacking just a little bit, but overall the acting, the special effects, the gore effects, they were all really good. So this is a very good film, but if I have one criticism is that I thought that the violence was glorified to the point where it just lost a bit of realism for me. Now, when comparing the two, the winner is, which the film that I feel is better, is I Spit on Your Grave original. Just for the fact that it's more gritty, more raw, and just has a really it's more realism to it all. So I do pick the original over the remake, but having said that, both films are very good, and I would highly recommend anybody who hasn't seen this film, which won't be many of you because it is a classic, I would highly recommend you get both of them. But if I had to pick one over the other, it would definitely be I Spit on Your Grave original. Alright guys, I hope this video wasn't too boring. Bloody hell, I've gone over 10 minutes. That's not usual that happens, but I hope that the video was interesting for you, and tomorrow or the next day or whenever I can do in the next video, I will be sharing my views on The Last House on the Left. Alright guys, until next time, I'll see you later.